A lot of people on YouTube love to talk about making $10,000 per month with the wheel strategy, but is that even possible for regular everyday people like me and you? In today's video, we're going to find out. Yo, what is going on, Premium Chasers? I hope you're having a God-blessed day. Today, every single person that comments down below is going to get a very special ebook called The Leveraged ETF Guide, and it's also going to show you my two favorite leveraged ETFs to sell options on if and when I ever do that. And that'll make a lot more sense in today's video because we're talking about the big claim that we see a lot on YouTube: make passive income, make $10,000 a month, make $100,000 a month, whatever, right? With the wheel strategy. Now, let's all be upfront. Is that even possible? What does it even take for that to be possible? Okay. And I'm going to break it down kind of like what I like to personally do. Okay. Because all of us are different, right? We all have different, goals. And obviously I'm not a financial advisor. I have no idea who you are. I'm just going to show you kind of how I think through things and how I leverage the wheel strategy, AKA I call it the Ark Options Strategy because I come out of 5 income sources. The wheel strategy is a leaky bucket. Click the first thing in the description of today's video if you want to learn more about that. But let's go over the shoulder and talk about it. Okay. So the first one we got to go into is talking about the trap that so many option sellers fall into. And I'm going to show you one of the big ones because I see it constantly talked about. All right, we're going to go to MSTY. Okay. Now this is a leveraged ETF following MSTR, if you don't know, right? Now we're going to go over to their trade option section and we're going to sell a put here. And I'm just going to go, roughly 33 days out. And this is where the trap is and I feel bad, right? I feel so bad for a lot of new option sellers that, they and you know what? We're all on our own journey. I've lost a lot of money and that's maybe how I got to the point where I'm at right now. Maybe we all have to lose a lot of money trading and investing before we find out like, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm finally making that change. So, with that said, right, a lot of people fall for these leveraged ETF plays, right? So for example, this one is MSTY, and you can see if I did a $16 put 33 days, right, I'm collecting $130 of premium for this, okay? And I'm just going to toss into my cash secured put calculator, my 130 right here. And I am locking up $1,600 here. I'm locking up $1,600. So if you don't know, if you're like a total newbie here with selling options, guys, basically all I'm saying is on October 24th at close, if MSTY is trading at $16 or below, I'm willing to buy it at 16. So if it's trading at 15, 14, 13, I'm buying it at 16. If it's trading above, right, it's trading at 16.50, 17, 18, whatever, I don't buy the shares. I simply walk away with that premium. And that premium, yes, it is given to you up front. Obviously, results vary. These numbers are constantly changing. It's just what I'm saying at the time of recording this. So you could see this is juicy, guys. Hit the juice button for sure. I mean, even for me, sometimes, guys, I'm like, man, I want to get in on some of this stuff. Because look at this, an 8% ROI on collateral. 8% that in a 33-day period. Let's put the 33, right? Annualized, that's almost 90%. Holy wow, like that's insanity. And a lot of people run the wheel strategy like this, okay? And it's great and it's fantastic and you're rolling it until you're not. And that one loss absolutely kills all the premium you ever got. So let's say you wanted to make a $5,000 or $10,000 a month. And a lot of people will do this. I mean, it's crazy to see, but I see it constantly. I see some people join us in our Facebook groups and they'll post these insane plays that they've gone in. And this is like their first year selling options and they're doing this. Like what? Like, if you don't know what you're doing, stay the heck away from leveraged ETFs. And if you want these calculators and all this stuff, guys, it is all free in our Facebook group. Link will be down below. So if you want to, listen, the reality of the situation with selling options is the more money you have, the more you can deploy, the more collateral you can collect. It's just the nature of the game. More money makes more money. That's how it is. The desperate people are usually going after the crazy, desperate buying options plays, right? Because they can't necessarily afford to do option selling. But even option sellers can sometimes turn into these degenerates, right? So let's say we did, let's just see what we could do. If we did like, let's say 20 contracts, which is actually hardly anything what I've seen people doing on X with these kind of plays. So 20, let's just do 4, let's just hit 50. We'll do 50 contracts, right? Well, that's 50 contracts right here. And that'll lock up $80,000 of collateral, right? You're locking up $80,000 of collateral for 33 days, but you're collecting $6,500 of premium up front. That's an insane return, right? I think that's insane. But here's the risk, right? The biggest risk here is it's obviously a leveraged ETF. One of the big reasons I don't trade leveraged ETF, except 2. I sometimes will trade 2. Drop a comment and I'll personally send you those 2 plus my leveraged ETF guide. But with that said, I don't like doing these often because you're not really holding an asset, right? The worst case scenario is you get stuck holding a stock, right? So I'd rather like be stuck holding like honestly like a J&J, like like you know what I mean? Like it sucks, but like that's just the nature of the game, right? Now I'm showing you guys like an extreme example, right? So what are other things that I like to do? Well, for example, let's say I wanted to, like something a little bit more stable. Let's honestly go with like a J&J and see what we get here. Right now, obviously, this is a lot more expensive of a company. You're locking up a tremendously more collateral here. But at the end of the day, the biggest risk is you get stuck holding J&J, which in my opinion isn't that big of a deal, in my opinion. So again, we'll just play close to the money here, and you can see we're only collecting $100, right? $100 for locking up our collateral, right? Our $17,000 in collateral for $100, right? So $104 right here, but we're locking up $17,000 of collateral. That's only a 0.61% return in a 30-day period. Is it 30 days? What do we say here? A 33-day period, right? Like that is not that great in my opinion, right? That's a very, very not really good ROI on collateral return. Me personally, what I like to do is I'm always aiming for about 2% ROI on my collateral. Okay, and this is my live trade log for the live portfolio here that I have. So right here, you could see, like for example, like my recent one that I just did, my American Airlines play. Right, I locked up $1,200 to collect $40, but that gave me a 3.36% ROI on collateral. The higher you go with these ROI on collaterals, the more risky they get. I would say anything over like 2.5% that you see if your money's locked up for like a 30-day period, you're getting into higher risk territory. Remember, nothing is free. Everything is priced into the market already. You do not have an edge. I'm sorry to tell you, you don't have an edge. The only edge that I believe we as option sellers have, our advantage, is that we can pick the stocks we do this on. The worst case, we are stuck holding the stock, right? Which we're getting in at a price that we want, and we're collecting some premium along the way. You know what I'm saying? So for me, you'll see I primarily only stick to stocks that I like. So for example, this is one of the crowd favorites right now. It is very higher risk, not as high risk as a leveraged ETF in my opinion, but a lot of people love selling options. I did too. I used to love selling options on SoFi. I actually just tossed SoFi into my buy and hold portfolio. I'm buying a little bit of SoFi every single week because I'm very bullish on it. Not selling options on it right now, but I am primarily just buying and holding SoFi right now because I am very bullish long-term on SoFi. But I digress. So let's go out 33 days here, right? So we're locking up $29.5 here for $205. Let's go take a look at what that looks like. So 105. So we're locking up 2,900 and 50, right? 29.50, right? So that's a 3.56% return. A little bit more risky, but still, in my opinion, less risky than a leverage ETF, because what's the worst thing that can happen here, guys? The worst thing that can happen here is that we get stuck holding SoFi stock, but we're getting it at a price that we wanted anyway. And obviously, I'm playing here closer to the money. We obviously, that's not the point of this video. The point is, right, how much money do you actually take? So when you see these screenshots from like people telling you, hey, you can make 10 grand a month with the wheel strategy, like, dude, like even on a SoFi play, which is I would say more in the higher risk category of selling options because it's at all-time highs, and you're selling puts when it's at all-time highs, like that's a risky play, right? You would need to do 100 contracts here, right? 100 contracts. Right here to make over $10,000 per month. And this is just taking SoFi into account with an average of 3.56, right? You could spread your risk across a bunch of different stocks. And let's say you're doing stuff that's like 2%, you're going to even need more. So you would need, just with a SoFi wheel, right, if you were doing it, or a mixer of stocks that gives you an average of 3.56%, you would need almost $300,000 to make 10 grand a month of premium, right? So when somebody is telling you this nonsense where you can make, 5, 10 grand a month, it is 100% possible. I know people that do it. I know people that make way more than this, right? Oh, you leveraging, but you have to understand, you need the money, guys. You need the money. And that's why I think this is a great strategy for pretty much everybody, because you could build your way up to it, right? Like my plan is, especially in my retirement years, I'm gonna be wheeling this thing on SPY with $1 million portfolio, over $1 million portfolio, right? I will not be scared, right? Because I'm just essentially writing my own paycheck, leveraging SPY as my asset. And the reason I would do it on SPY, and let's go take a look here real quick on SPY. I talk about SPY a lot here because, in my opinion, it eliminates the biggest risk of the wheel strategy. All right, let's get some coffee, guys. We're going off here on a Sunday morning. like the biggest risk of the wheel strategy is you get stuck holding the stock, right? So what if we could eliminate that? What if we could do it? Now, again, past performance is not indicative of future results, but wouldn't you sleep better at night looking at a chart like this, knowing that, hey, we've always hit all-time highs on SPY? I don't know. For me, I do. I would, and I will, right? So, for example, here, if I go to trade SPY, my strategy, at least during my retirement years, to be able to write paychecks for myself. And let's say I run this with like a $500,000 portfolio, just a little bit. I'm just writing myself a paycheck with like a 500 grand that I'm putting up. I'm going to be doing weeklies. The reason I'm doing weeklies is so I am able to make a lot more premium, right? When you're running weeklies, it does a little bit more management, hardly anything, guys, dude. When I say management, look, dude, this is a skill you need to learn. Like, just learn this freaking skill. But I'll be probably playing closer to the money stuff. So let's say 660s here, right? About a 34 delta. That's probably what I'd be doing. I'm a little bit more aggressive, especially with a SPY ETF. I'm not scared of assignment, right? So for example, $66,000 is getting locked up for 260, right? So 260, right? 66,600. Right, that's locking up 66,000 right here. And let's see, what do we got? 5 contracts we could probably afford ourselves here. Put 5, and again, if you want these, these are all in my are all in our Facebook group. Click the link down below. Great conversations in there, guys. I love this group so much. But all those links will be down below. So join us and you can get it. So right here, if I'm locking this up, I think it was 8 days in this, if educational example. Right here, I'm collecting my contracts right here, right? I would collect $1,300 per week, essentially. Now, it's not always going to be the same numbers. It's going to be different strike prices. Occasionally, I'm assigned and I'm doing my covered calls, yada, yada, yada. You guys already know the play, right? But essentially here, I'm just locking up around 333. We said 500,000. So maybe let's just, for the sake of locking up a fictitious amount of money here, we do it for the content. Let's just say we're doing 8 contracts here, right? We're doing 8 contracts a week of SPY. $2 grand a week. I'm able to write myself as my paycheck. Fine by me. That's going to be absolutely fine by me. And then plus, I'm never not going to work personally. That's just me. I love working. I believe humans are designed by God to work. But with that said, this is going to be a very big source of income for me, especially during my retirement years. Because again, it's like I hate saying it, but it's kind of passive, right? Like, listen, I run a lot of businesses, and I've done lots of side hustles and stuff. Like, I've never seen anything where, like, literally you don't have like expenses here besides like taxes, right? Like, that's the biggest expense, which you're not like, a lot of you will be like, well, Pete, like, you have all these taxes, but it's an expense in your business, bro. Go start any side hustle. You know how many expenses you're gonna have? You're gonna have advertising, you're gonna have contractors, you're gonna have headaches, you're gonna have, having to learn how to do all of those things to start a business, which is already pain in the butt to begin with. Like, in my opinion, like, guys, like, listen, if you asked me 5 years ago, I would have said you're crazy, but I honestly think for 99% of people, work your way up the career ladder, right? Make your money, right? Be a valuable human being to whatever organization you're part of. Stack that cash. Make as much money as you humanly possibly can. Maybe have a couple side hustles that you're making extra cash with, but then, right, invest that, right? Have your buy and hold portfolio, have your selling options portfolio, but you're better off, right? Because now, right, you could literally do stuff like this when you're like in your 50, 60. I mean, you can start doing this even with a $5,000 account. You don't need a big account to do this. Guys, if you want help and you want to learn how to start or scale your option selling portfolio over the next 30 days, click the first link in the description of today's video. Not only are you going to learn what the Ark Options Strategy is, you're going to learn about our mastermind and mentorship program, which is filled with incredible individuals doing nothing but helping each other every single day. And you're also going to get my full trade log completely for free just for learning more about that. So click the first link in the description of today's video, guys. Remember, sell options, collect premiums, repeat. I'll see y'all tomorrow.